Welcome to the BMI Podcast. Today we sat down and we talked about nutrition for busy people and busy lifestyle. And we touched on areas such as protein, supplements, and hydration. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. We hope you enjoy. We should get started on our podcast today.
That was a good introduction.
Yeah.
Welcome to the BMI Podcast.
Today we are talking about nutrition within the professional space. So for busy people, nutrition for busy people. So I've got a few questions here for you, Mikey, and just you can just spurt off what your opinion is, and I'll chime in if I have any 2 cents to say. But we'll just go.
I'll preface it just by saying, obviously, like for those that don't know me, my day job is a nutritionist, and I've been in the health and fitness field for probably 10 years,
probably
15
more
years,
if
close
you're
to
going to
15
go into
years.
high school.
Yeah, exactly. But going through the PT realm first to then get to just practicing nutrition, and probably been solely practicing nutrition for the last 5-6 years now. And so we operate a business out of Hamilton, Beyond Nutrition, and so I'm not just a random person talking about nutrition.
Nor am I a random person talking about business.
Exactly.
Whereas I've run businesses, I've still got business running right now. We can get into that in another podcast at another time. So nutrition for busy professionals. What does nutrition generally look like for busy professionals, and what methods and systems do you think people need to start with?
What does nutrition look like for busy professionals? Shit.
Yeah.
Absolute crap.
Go into it a bit more. Like, what do you tend to see when coming across high performing individuals?
Yeah, it's funny. I think high performing individuals, they have very good systems in place for their businesses and for a lot of different avenues of their life. And when it comes to their health, they don't.
Oh man, yeah. As soon as you started, I was just like, yep. I was guilty of that 6 years ago.
Yeah, and a lot of it is prioritization.
Yeah.
So much of that priority gets put towards the business or the family or whatever it is that they're busy with. I think busyness is just it's like a synonym for priority, the priority list. It's like, which on your priority list are you going to put your most attention to?
Yeah.
And so typically when people become busy, they're normally busy with other things. And so quite often, irrespective of where that is, whether or not you're a business owner, whether or not you're a mum, a dad, just a worker, an athlete, there is quite often a detriment to another avenue of life. And so you're not actually paying attention to another avenue of your lifestyle. And for people in the business space in particular, I think a lot of that comes back to their own health, because a lot of the time is actually implemented within the business. And so at a downside to that is then the health obviously gets taken back. And so they find themselves, sleepless nights. They don't prioritize sleep, and so they're having fuck all sleep during the night. They're working crazy hours. Because they're working crazy hours, they don't have any food prepared. And so they're living on takeaways, caffeine, and doing anything essentially just to tie them over to the next day. So yeah, I mean, I don't think they prioritize it. And although more and more people now, particularly with the likes of the podcasts that are becoming in vogue, is a lot more people are actually taking their health more seriously. So I think it's changing, but typically, they don't prioritize their health at all.
Yeah. And what sort of what would you think? We're obviously going to get into further depth later on, but what would be one sort of thing to one system to sort of start off with if you're a busy person and then you're sort of deciding, all right, wanting to start looking into my nutrition a bit more?
So, I mean, a couple of different ways we can go about this. One is, or both actually, are probably very similar to how you go into your business. One is set up a goal. and have a reason why or what you're actually looking to achieve. So there could be the goal element. And then there could be the classic fail to prepare to fail.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared, if you know your goal and you're not prepared, then the likelihood of you kind of going into that and being successful with that is next to none.
Yeah.
So I think the former is always the goal setting, is always know what you're wanting to achieve and in particular why. And we can get into how we do that if you want to, or we can save that for another one.
Yeah.
And then the opposite to that would be, or following on from that would be preparing and learning systems in order that can actually help you to prepare for whatever busy looks like for you.
Yeah. Well, goal setting is on my last sort of a question to sort of go over with you at the end, so we can do a little brief one over that there. Yeah. So also just what would it take, like understanding what is required to sustain operating at a high level and creating a new version of yourself? Is that sort of what you're meaning, like sort of realizing that I'm working hard and getting the fruits of my labor from business, but at the detriment of my own health? Like we see too many professionals, or let's say business owners and stuff like that, disregarding their health, and then they come out of it 45 and that's all they're focusing on because they realize that they've let things go too far, Yeah,
100%. Stephen Bartlett actually said on his podcast, Health is Wealth.
Yeah.
Everything rides on this tectonic plate of your health. Like you could lose your business, you can start another one. You can get a divorce, you can hopefully find another partner. You can lose a loved one, you can move on from that. But if you lose your health, there's a very near end in sight.
Yeah, it's hard to regain.
It is, and quite often it's funny. It's like the business entrepreneurs, they kind of go all in on certain areas, but that all in, they don't also go all in on is their health, and yet their health is their one metric that actually could help them to perform better. And you don't know how shit you feel until you feel better. And I think most entrepreneurs that kind of go into business 100% at the expense of their health and not putting themselves first, they actually don't know how bad they feel until they actually make a few little changes, start to get a few of their health areas in check, realize how shit they originally felt, and how much more they can now do or tolerate because they've taken care of themselves.
Like, obviously you can have appreciation. Like when you're busy, you are busy. Like, sure. I'm a strong believer of you make time for the things that are important, but like, I can understand like this is people just coming to realization that they maybe want to start living a healthier lifestyle. What do you think about like, would you, maybe a first step, would it be like, all right, if you're ordering takeout, maybe choose the healthier option? Or what do you think on that sort of front there? Would like just sort of for the people that are out there, like have been working their butt off, and then they just feel like they owe themselves a reward or a treat or something like that. And I feel like that's where the slippery slope starts. Like they definitely work hard and they're like, they deserve it, but it's sometimes at their own detriment,
Yeah, I mean, food often gets used as a reward or a punishment, and I think like we probably typically need to move away from that and just think of it as food in general. Some food is going to be more strategically healthy and helpful for us than others. I think first we probably need to actually it goes back to the goal. We need to realize what and why. And so if we are busy, and like I said, like I think we're all busy to a certain degree. And I think 75 Hard in particular, following on from the conversation that we had last week, highlights how much time you probably do have in your day. Now, entrepreneurs and business people in particular, I'm sure they love their spreadsheets. You could literally write down everything you do in a day and it will quickly realize at the pockets that you've got. Some, many, or very few, but you'll still at least see where you've got pockets in time to optimize better.
So maybe start from that point there, like do a proper overlook and analyze your current situation.
Yeah, review your day.
See where you can potentially fit in that 20-minute walk if you're starting off at that,
Correct, and I mean, any step is going to be a positive step. Now, if that is you're not currently doing anything, sure, go for a 10-minute walk. Walk to the end of the driveway and back. Like, do something.
Yeah.
If that is you buy takeaways 5 nights a week, well, just try buy it 3. Like, start somewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm also not I'm not blinded by the fact that people like to see change fast.
Yeah.
And so if you want to see change fast, you also have to meet it with the same commitment. Now, again, that's not necessarily to say that is the right way to go about it, but motivation, particularly external motivation, is powerful for a short-term result. So if you have a big enough carrot or stick, you'll do anything. It's making it, and again, that kind of goes back to the goal setting in the first place, is understand what that goal is. Once you've understood what that goal is, realize why you want to achieve that goal. And if that why is a big enough carrot or stick, positive or negative motivator will still fucking work.
Yeah.
If it's a big enough carrot or stick, you'll get it done. The trick, though, is along the way, that's where most people fall into a diet regime. Yeah. They do the hardest thing they possibly can. They achieve the goal. They can't fucking stick to whatever they did get there, and they revert back. Let's say they lost 10 kilos, they probably put 10 kilos back on, or some more.
An extra 2.
Exactly. They haven't actually learned what it takes to sustain the weight that they've lost or the change that they've actually made. And so
the approach is just...
You can use either or. You can use start something. You can use a big carrot or a stick. But in both instances, I think it's if you start with a big carrot or stick, make sure you acknowledge and identify, I really don't feel like doing it today, so you can keep momentum going. But that would be, like I said, that's almost the reason why we get into it to start with. I think once we've realized and we've made that commitment, then it becomes about trying to better actually plan and prepare your day and realize what your options are, so that you can set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you fail to prepare to fail.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think for just to give people a bit of background, we both fast. Do you think that maybe that might be something worth people looking into, or for these busy professionals, because we don't eat normally before lunchtime, before midday, we will never tend to eat. We consume the water and stuff like that. Do you think it would be a viable option for them, or do you think maybe that's too early in the process for them, like if they're just trying to get their health initially under control, sort of?
Yeah.
Because like you're sort of saying, you're jumping into fad type dieting and stuff like that. I would say from my experience, you might be able to say the same, I would highly recommend it from being a busy professional person, just because you can just focus on getting your stuff done and then worry about that there. But that might be a whole nother kettle of fish sort of thing. Yeah,
it depends on the type of person that we're looking at talking to. So I think, fasting for me is great at controlling your overall energy intake, how many calories you end up putting in your mouth.
Yeah.
Now, from there, there's nothing necessarily magic about it. However, for the most part, or the society generally, we have an overconsumption issue. We consume too many calories, and we're also not used to hunger, because especially in a westernized world, we can literally drive 25 meters down the road to the supermarket, to a service station, to the nearest takeaway, and we can get our fix.
It's food in abundance.
Exactly.
It's crazy what
we
we
never
have around us now.
Yeah, we never actually have to be hungry. And so I think we've fallen out of sync with our hunger cues. And anytime we feel hungry, we're often reaching for food. Now,
And that's just habit.
that's
almost,
just purely
like,
habit.
Yeah.
It's hunger, and the hunger is a cue to go and grab something to eat. Whereas instead, fasting actually teaches you that hunger doesn't necessarily lead to anything. You get hungry, you get a little bit more hungry, and then you don't get hungry.
And you just move on.
And you move on. 3 hours later, you start getting hungry again. You repeat the process.
Yeah.
You get a little bit more hungry. You have the choice whether or not you want to eat or not. You eat or you move on.
Yeah.
And so I think fasting actually brings back the control that we have over our hunger. But I actually think busy people in general don't eat.
Yeah.
So typically fasting, they're used to fasting of some description. It's probably not like the classic diet like intermittent fasting or a 16-8 or alternate
They're just
day.
too occupied.
They're just too occupied, so they're not actually consuming anything.
Yeah.
And so because they're not consuming anything, they're then coming back at a later day and over-consuming.
Yeah.
And again, it's come back to they weren't prepared for food at the time that they actually probably needed it. And so they had nothing, but then they got to a point of being too hungry and then had too much. And so it's, spiking blood sugar levels and throwing people out of whack just in general.
Yeah.
But again, I actually think it's going back and highlighting the points in the day. Okay, how can I be more, or how can I prioritize my health more and allow time for me to sit down and eat something to eat or have something to eat so that I'm not going to get starving or crash in the afternoon and then a pick-me-up coffee at 3 in the afternoon and then not sleep at night or have another coffee at 8 o'clock at night because I got more work to do.
Yeah.
And it's pulling back the priority to how can I be more healthful for me and prioritize my health, but how can we actually do that?
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point about busy people tending to not have a problem with that there, with the not consuming food and then all of a sudden just going all out on sort of thing. That's a good way to look at it for the fasting side of things. But what I tend to, you might notice as well, like a lot of people, working professionals, they find it's quite common that they partake in maybe consuming in a couple of extra bevies or two. So they might partake in some alcohol with shots and stuff like that. They tend to, I think it goes back to what we were saying before, like they feel like they've worked so hard that they earned it and they deserve it. Like in retrospect, yes, you do, but like, is health and fitness a part of your priorities? I think, so what do you think with that there, like the alcohol consumption side of things when it comes to busy professionals?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of a sedative than anything. It's like, let's go and have this because it makes me feel good. I'm so stressed and this is going to de-stress me, or it means that I don't have to front up to the issues that I have to deal with when I actually get home. And I'm just going out, or you can use socializing as the aspect. And it's like, well, now I finally get to let my hair down a little bit. And again, going back into that reward. And I think we typically have to move away from using food or alcohol or anything kind of consumption-wise as a reward.
Instead of just a functionality.
Exactly. Now, does it have a place in a general healthy lifestyle? Of course, like you can make the case for or against it. I think if people consume 1 to 2 glasses of wine a night, they typically have higher or lower mortality rates.
Yeah.
In comparison to people that don't drink at all. Causation, correlation, who knows?
Yeah.
It's coming back to what is your goal. If you're morbidly obese and you need to improve, or you've got non-alcoholic or you've got alcoholic fatty liver disease and you need to improve your health markers, and then you're trying to give yourself a reward, well, you've already given yourself too many rewards, mate.
Yeah.
Try
You're
not
on
to
the
give
high end of that.
Yeah, let's not give yourself so many rewards. Like, let's change the reward, move it away from food, move it away from alcohol. And so, it's, again, it always comes back to prioritizing the goal. Now, I think busy people in general just need to prioritize their goal more. Because they don't have as much free time available. Now, this same for mums or people that are busy with family life too. Like there's a priority, and it's if I can look after myself, well, I can look after other people better.
Yeah.
But to do that, you need to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
And
you can't fill up anyone else's cup
from
an empty cup.
No, that's exactly it. And so again, it comes back to what am I trying to optimize for? What's my goal? And what are the practices that I can actually do to help me with that?
Yep.
Now, if you're in the epitome of health, you exercise 5 times a week, you maintain weight for the past 20 years, and you enjoy going out and having a couple of drinks with the boys or the work crew, go for it. You're in no state of needing to change what you're doing.
Yeah.
Most people asking the question, though, are in a state of needing to change.
Yeah.
And so then it comes back to, like I said, what is that priority? And I think a lot of people shy away from that priority of their goal, and they don't want to say that the drinking is more important than them losing weight or them getting healthier.
Yeah.
That's an honest conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're able to say that, then just fucking own it.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas if you want to say, well, my health is more important than these situations for now, okay, now we can do something about it.
Yeah.
Well,
then you might have someone that's like, how they go, having that honest conversation. Hey, I need to have a couple of beers or I'm going to lose my nut. And then you just got to counter it on the other end and zone in and go extra hard on the diet from the everyday business. And then maybe on the weekend when you want to have a couple of beers and stuff like that, it's not as detrimental to your health as much as it is. Even though, like, as you will know, like, it'll be your opinion too, like, alcohol is terrible. Like, it sets you back multiple days, and like
there's apart from the social aspect, there's nothing a hell of a lot good that comes from it, health wise.
Hey, I still like it too, and I still find myself wanting to partake, but every time I decide not to, I always go, I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah. And I mean, like, if you're having a couple a week, it's probably having very little impact. Even if you look from a calorie level, it's having a very little impact on your overall energy intake.
It's just the sleep that's the main...
potentially, and that might only be one day, and if you can optimize your sleep outside of that, that's fine. But again, for the most part, we're not really talking about people with that issue. Yeah. Most people aren't in a good stream of health first. They're using those mechanisms as a cover, or like I said, as a sedative for the things that they don't want to front up to.
Yeah, correct.
To try and get away from the world that they're actually hating at the moment.
Yeah.
And so that's already not, irrespective of calories, it's just not a healthy relationship to have with that beverage in the first place.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, okay, well, if you're claiming that you're busy, but you've got time and you need that social aspect to then go and drink and whatnot, well, what else could we be doing? Like, could you set up could you still go and be social without the alcohol?
Yeah.
Do you have the ability to be able to limit yourself and say, well, I'll have 2? Do you need to go, and could you find friends that don't want to do, or find friends that have similar goals as what you do?
Yeah.
But again, what are those goals so that you can actually prioritize them?
Yeah. I guess, like, sort of what I'm picking up here is just sort of having that chat with oneself, like, and having an honest conversation and pinpointing what you want to achieve versus what are you willing to sacrifice, and being for the busy professionals out there, like, they're not shy of sacrifice. They know that they've probably sacrificed in other areas, and I feel like they're probably justifying these things because they've sacrificed in other areas, and then they ultimately put their health on the line as that.
Yeah, I mean, like our little introduction, right? Like resentment. Like that's been at the expense of something, and then there's a resent because you haven't done what you actually wanted to do in the first place, and so then that's just filled with something else. But I mean, like, the people that have already started to make the change, there's definitely some strategies and way that you can kind of better manage your day.
Yeah.
And like I said, once you've identified the time that you've got, well, you can go through a list of, okay, well, how prepared do I need to be? In an ideal world, you might be able to cook fresh. In a slightly less ideal world, you might have to take leftovers that you've had the night before for dinner, for lunch the next day. In an even less ideal world, you might actually have to start cooking your food in bulk. The classic bro style, cook your meals in 5 Tupperware containers and chuck it in the fridge for the week.
Yeah.
Again, it's like, I think people try to fit square pegs into round holes, and they don't want to do the meal prep style thing.
Yeah.
But yet they also don't have the time to cook fresh.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, which one do you want to do? Do you want your goal, or do you want to be able to cook fresh, or do you want to just go and buy takeaway? Because that's the alternative.
Yeah.
It's like, and that might only be for a short period of time. You might then get through that busy period and be able to cook fresh. Or you might be able to cook a fresh dinner and then just take the leftovers.
Yeah.
You might be able to, or you might need to just take supplements for the day. So take a protein powder and something that's convenient like that. To then get home, or when you get home, have something that you can make then.
Yeah,
It might
curb those indulging
Yeah,
moments,
exactly. It might literally be your preparation is making sure that the cupboard is filled with rice wraps and packets of tuna. And then you've got some salads.
It's literally my cupboard right now.
Right. And it's like, that is still a form of meal prep. But it's like, it's realizing what is actually going to work for you. How prepared do you need to be based on your circumstance? What are the options that you have? It might mean that you have to do the less ideal of what your options are, but you'll also be able to get to the other side of that, have momentum. You would have achieved half of the goal by that point anyway.
Yep.
You've actually become less busy. You've gained some time back, and now you can go to whatever your optimal realm of eating is. And so you might be able to cook fresh.
Yep.
Come home at lunchtime and make lunch, because now you've got more time. But don't fit the square peg into the round hole, because inherently that just leads to a Macca's drive-through.
Yeah. Well, that's a good little leeway for me, because what I've got here is I've got a question. Like, since you yourself, you're operating at a high level, you're now running your business, still maintaining your health, doing 75 hard, ran a marathon last year. What are the sort of habits or sort of golden nuggets that you are implementing yourself, like just to give people a scope of what a day of looking after yourself, like nutrition, health wise, what's your day-to-day tasks that you have implemented since taking on running your own business? And
Yeah, so it's actually a good question, because it's completely changed to when I was an employee and when I was training for the Queenstown Marathon last year. And so my priority structure, like I said to start with, has actually changed. Now, I still prioritize my health, but I'm not prioritizing the athletic endeavor.
yeah,
I used to, or when I first got into it, I was competing in bodybuilding. And so for that, I would have all my meals prepped for the day, mostly for the week, and I would literally be the bro. I would have the Tupperware containers, I would chuck them in the microwave, and I'd have that sorted for the week.
Yeah.
And I'd do my meal prep on Sunday, and I'd have all the food done. And I was literally robotic like that.
yeah.
But
Now you sort of got a grasp on the busy person's world.
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
Now
That's it. Now, again,
other aspects to focus on, but still not neglecting.
Yeah, so the priority there, and this wasn't necessarily even nutrition, it was actually the training.
Yeah.
And so that was similar to the marathon, where training actually took precedent. And so all of the time was going into, how can I optimize my day so that I could train?
Yeah.
Now it's, how can I optimize my day so I can be productive in work? How can I be present with clients? And how can I then still have enough energy to think about business growth or my own personal growth within the business? Now, to do that, I need to take back energy.
Yeah.
I couldn't give all of my energy towards training or formal training. I actually have to take some of that back. And so now I've become less strict on myself with regards to formal training. And it's actually trying to focus on just moving, because I realized that moving for me is critical for me being able to gain more energy throughout the day. If I don't do anything, I feel like shit. So I need to do something.
Bare minimum, is it?
Bare minimum. I need to move. So for me, that actually starts with from a movement perspective anyway, a walk to work in the morning. So, 8 to 9 o'clock in the morning. You sit in traffic for bloody 20 minutes anyway. It takes me 20, 30 minutes to walk to work. I may as well just walk.
Yeah.
So I start the day because otherwise I'm sitting at my desk for the entire day with clients. And so I don't actually move. So I walk to work. My start and ending the day is always starting with a walk. Now then, I just try and get 4 sessions of formal exercise somewhere in the week. When I was training for the marathon, it was 6 or 7.
Yeah.
When I was bodybuilding training, it was 6 or 7. Now,
75 hard?
75 hard every day.
Twice.
Now it's how can I get in? I'm already walking twice a day.
Yeah.
How can I just get in some training where for me, again, it's almost like that whole social element of I need to let steam off.
Yeah.
How can I just clear my head? But I'm not setting them on certain days. And so I'm a little bit more flexible with how and where I go and get that in.
Yeah.
But that's because the priority for me is I need to then be able to prioritize my energy on a day-to-day and for the business without being at the detriment to my health.
Yeah.
So for me, it's trying to be more active, try to spend more time walking rather than just sitting on my ass. And outside of that, reducing my formal training so I can actually get back more time that I can then put back into the business or into my own personal development, as well as a minimum requirement of exercise so that I can at least still stay healthy.
Yeah.
And so for me, that again, that came back to that honest conversation. It was like, if I try to do everything, I'm going to do nothing.
Yeah.
So I may as well prioritize something, but what is my minimum?
Yeah.
What am I absolutely not going to go under?
Yeah. Your non-negotiables.
My non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Figure what those are and set those in stone. And so that actually was quite hard for me to begin with because I'd spent probably the last 10 years at least trying to be an athlete.
Yeah.
In bodybuilding or in running last year.
Yeah.
And so it was, the discipline was built around training. I know how to push myself in training, but I had to reprioritize.
Yeah.
I became busier, in quote marks. I just had different priorities. And so I had to have that honest conversation with myself as to where to steer that priority and what were my non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Now, food actually completely changed. I now have more time to prepare food fresh.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was bodybuilding, half of it was the identity of I just wanted to be a bro that had Tupperware sitting in the fridge. But for the
his lunchbox
and the lunch and the bag with the chillers and the 5 meal
shaker.
containers and all
protein
of that.
shaker with the pills down the bottom.
Yeah, that's it. 6-pack bags.
Yeah, that's
It was and so I had that and I was prepared on a Sunday. I don't do meal prep on a Sunday now.
Yep.
But my meal prep is either what food do I need to have in the cupboard for the next day. And so every day I review with myself, what do I need to have for tomorrow? And so I'm still thinking about it. And if I need to cook some rice, I'll cook some rice. If I don't need to and I've got tuna sitting in the cupboard, fine. I might just need to cook some vegetables.
Yeah. Mine is cooking the chicken, making sure there's chicken there, because then I know I will always be able to slap it on some rice, something like that.
And so same as when I'm making a dinner, it's like, okay, would this serve tomorrow? Would I be able, or is this good reheated?
Yeah.
If so, make a bit more.
Yeah.
Make some more so that you've got the leftovers the next day, so that you don't have to worry about preparing anything. You can just literally wake up, pull it out. And then there's my next checklist. It's before you leave the door, are you ready for the day? Have you actually got everything you need before you walk out the front door? Most of the time, we sleep our alarm for freaking an hour rather than trying to wake up an hour early just to be more prepared. And it's like,
I never sleep my alarm.
Nah. There's a new, I think there was a podcast actually that talked about why you shouldn't sleep your alarm or something like that.
Is that Tony, the woman?
I feel like it might be.
She goes 3, 2, 1. That's literally what she does. 3, 2, 1, and go.
Go up.
She always just counts it down in her head, and it makes her do it 97% of the time. She said.
Yeah.
She blew up. She did a TED talk, and she
think
literally
talked.
She talked all about it, and literally talked for an hour, and then everyone's oh yeah, cool, that was all right. She's successful in business, and she goes at the end of it, she goes, oh yeah, and also I do this thing where I go 3, 2, 1, go. And then I just start doing things. And that part of the TED Talk blew up. And now she's got millions of followers.
Yeah.
She's written books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she was she realized just going, okay, 3, 2, 1, go, let's go. And it finds, so maybe those out there, maybe give that a try if you're ever struggling with following through on something like that. It sort of takes the thinking out of it and just...
Can't talk yourself out of it.
Yeah. If you're talking to yourself, you're going to talk yourself out of it. Whereas if you just literally know that there's something you need to do, 3, 2, 1, go. And just do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you think about it, it's like, it's really just the comfort of staying in bed just that little bit longer. But realistically, what's 30 minutes? How more sleep are you going to get in the next 15 to 30 minutes that's going to make you that much better for the day? Like, you're already awake. You're not going to get back to sleep. You're going to go back into like stage 1 sleep and then wake up again.
Yeah.
And it's like...
already like it's disturbed anyway. Like, it's not a proper cycle. So
exactly. So you may as well get up, and then because you're up an extra 30 minutes, an hour early, well, now you've got the time where otherwise you are rushing to have a shower, to run out the door, to jump in the car, to drive to work, to sit in traffic. You've now got time.
And then you make excuse because you're late.
Exactly. And you don't have the food that you want, and then you go and buy it, and then it cascade from there. Yeah. You could wake up half an hour earlier, or just when you actually set your alarm in the first place rather than snoozing it.
Yeah.
And then use that time to have that question when you get up. So if you've done it the night before, you can re-question yourself in the morning. So you've got 2 opportunities. Can I be prepared at the night before? And then if you miss that one, you've got another point in the morning. What do I need for the day?
Do you find yourself preparing the night before more often than not? Or?
Yeah, I'm definitely a night before. So I still have that routine from the bodybuilding side where... I won't necessarily meal prep, but for the meals that work, or the food that works good for leftovers, and so for me that's something like a Thai curry or a stir fry or fried rice or pasta or something like that. Yeah, they reheat really well, and so if I know that that's what I'm cooking, I'll make an extra serve so that we can just use that the next day. Yeah. Outside of that, if I know, I still question myself, and if I know this is real, let's say we're having fish or steak, right? Like reheated steak tastes like shit. If I know that I'm going to have steak for dinner, then I just make sure that I've at least got the food in the pantry that I need for the next day. Yeah. Or is there something that I need to cook alongside the steak? So can I just put a chicken breast in the pan at the same time, or on the barbecue at the same time the steak's on there, so that it is prepared for the next day. And then I wake up in the morning and I re-question myself. Try
to 2 birds 1 stone. That's sort of it.
Exactly. And so then you wake up in the morning, okay, of whatever I've prepared or had thought about the night before, what do I need to get out for the day? And so I just don't leave the house until I've thought about that question. And again, priority, right? Yeah,
exactly. So probably want to touch on the last few things, like we talked about it earlier on, was sort of like mindset changes. I knew we were going to end up here. These are on my bullet points. So mindset changes, goal setting, and maybe a little dabble into protein intake, because a lot of people don't know too much about the protein, but like maybe we'll go over those. So like mindset changes, pretty much what I'm picking up from you, I'll give you my little summary of what I think for the people is like we need to have a paradigm shift of what's important to you, what are your priorities, are you going to do a bit of self-analyzing, look over your current habits, where can you fit these things in? Like Rome wasn't conquered in a day. We're not, this is a personal development podcast, and we're just trying to give you advice, maybe little tips, maybe one little nugget that will sit with you, and then maybe you can implement those things bit by bit, because it's very hard to change straight away. But like you're sort of saying, going back to goal setting and stuff like that, and I would say probably one of the main things we probably haven't delve into much on this podcast is probably that protein intake, which I know you're huge on, and I am huge on now because of you, because it's in my diet plan. Mikey is my nutritionist.
But I am.
Yes, so Yeah, so do you want to go over that sort of that mindset shift, sort of little sort of spill on that, and then to the goal setting, and then
Yeah. I think from a goal setting perspective, it's, I think Simon Sinek has the book Start With Why. And if you can identify why you want to do something, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to then figure out what you need to do.
Yeah.
Most people know, and ironically, this is the same in business, which is, I think, his TED Talk in a nutshell. Most business people or most entrepreneurs actually know what they're wanting to do or what they're trying to sell.
Yeah.
Most people don't know why they're selling it or why someone would want to buy it. So if you start there, it's very easy to work backwards. Same with goal setting. If you can start with why you actually want to achieve something or change what you're currently doing, it's much easier to then extrapolate out and figure out how you're going to do it and then what you're actually going to do. So I'd always start with why. From there, it's I think, again, like external motivation, if it's because you want to impress someone or if it's because someone's told you can't do it or whatever, they're powerful.
Yeah.
They're only powerful short term. And so somewhere along the line, you need to figure out what that internal driver is. Whatever your why currently is, it needs to be intrinsic or internal to you. And so if you can realize why you want to do it, not why someone else wants you to do it, you'll be more likely to follow through.
Yeah.
From there, I think, like, probably similar to your 3, 2, 1, go is James Clear's 2 minutes or fuck it.
Yeah.
So essentially, just once you realize the trajectory of where you're wanting to go, just start. And every time you come to a roadblock, 2 minutes or fuck it. Take out that question. As soon as you start to hear yourself giving an excuse, oh no, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that, I want to go to Macca's, or I don't feel like eating the food that I've got, or I don't want to do the exercise session. 2 minutes or fuck it. Just engage with it for 2 minutes. Just do something for 2 minutes. If you didn't want to go to the gym, put your shoes on. Jump in the car. Drive to the end of the driveway. If you can get that far and you still feel like you don't want to do it, fuck it. Don't worry about it. Give yourself an out.
Yeah, get yourself in that motion of forward movement.
9 times out of 10.
See whether you want to turn around again.
Because 9 times out of 10, if you just start and you just get going, you will continue with it. And so that's the same. Every time you feel like, I don't know, let's say you are on a diet. Every time you feel like going to the nearest takeaway shop, 2 minutes or fuck it. Just start chopping something. If you can get 2 minutes in, start chopping something, put something in the fryer or in the pan or on the barbecue. If you get that far and you still can't be asked, fuck it. But again, most of the time, just because you've started the habit, you're going to actually continue.
And that's wasteful as well, you know.
Yeah.
You're probably going to put it in the fridge and then you'll never cook it, or
Exactly.
So like it's what is it, sort of like hacking your mind a little bit, like sort of conning it or tricking it into.
It's almost just trying to
achieving,
deactivate it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like you said, you just talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And so if you can actually just take a lot of the thinking out and just rely on action and what you're doing, you'll go to where you need to go. It's because you end up talking yourself too much that you end up talking yourself out of it, which is why you don't ever end up reaching that goal in the first place. Or there'll be a barrier like time.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to, again, find the pockets of the day where you actually have time, what do you need to do to fit, one, your goals and the time that you've got, whether that's waking up earlier, whether that is preparing something the night before, whether that's preparing something on a day off that you have, whatever that is for you, and then actually engaging with that habit with 2 minutes or fuck it, or 3, 2, 1, go.
Yep.
Just start, especially at the time that you don't want to do it. Just do it for 2 minutes. At the sound of go, just do it. And if you can get that far, you probably solved 9 out of your 10 problems.
Yeah.
And you'll follow through with it.
You can fine tune on the other stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Have some sort of game plan in place. Doesn't have to be bulletproof. It's just starting with the initial golden nuggets that you know that you need to do. Being busy professionals out there, you guys will already have an understanding of what you know you need to do, but just those little things like having those game plans and stuff like that. Do you want to touch a little bit on like protein and stuff like that, or just a little spiel on it? Like, because a lot of people don't realize how much we would curb our hunger, which could stop us from overeating, could really help us maintain some muscle mass and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of importance on the protein side, and I'll let you dive into it a bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably also the one thing or the one nutrient that is not prepared well.
Yeah.
If most people were a little bit more prepared with protein, they would likely solve all of the other issues that they have going on, or a lot of the other issues that they have going on throughout the day with regards to their food. 9 times out of 10, if they don't have protein with the meal, it's probably some kind of hyper-palatable, either carbohydrate or loaded with fat, and then you're kind of like, it's very easy to overconsume, or it leaves you hungry and crashes you, and so you're looking for more at a later date, and you're just riding that sugar crave or the sugar wave of looking for the high and then getting the crash, looking for another high, getting the crash. Now, if you just simply add protein to that, or try and have protein with each meal, you'll likely null most of that effect.
Yeah.
And so you'll actually be a little bit more satiated, which means you'll eat less in general, and you'll also have less of an overall crash because you then have to digest that protein, which takes longer.
And that's huge for busy professionals. Like if you want to be maintaining a high performance output the whole day, you got to get your protein in there. Like it's a staple, like 100%.
Yeah. So protein, most people just think of protein for muscle. And I think protein probably warrants its own podcast on purely protein.
We're going to have a 40-minute.
We'll go all into protein.
Into protein. Like I was just for like, if someone is listening specifically for this title, hey, I'm a busy professional, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't forget. Yeah, this is that important. I think we're probably going to talk about protein just about in 80% of our nutrition podcasts. Like it's going to be there. Like it's apparent. Like
I think the thing that people probably could look into is how can I have protein with every meal?
Yeah.
And again, we'll kind of get into likely a little bit more of the why, and yes, satiety, muscle, but also just the amino acids that are in proteins undergo all of the enzymatic pathways that happen in the body. So every time you turn over a cell, it's a protein. A lot of the hormones that get regulated in your body, they start with amino acid or a protein action. And so you need those amino acids coming in. Now, again, most people probably don't.
Just for functionality.
Just for functionality.
Yeah. It's a huge thing. So, like, for those professionals out there, immense importance on that functionality throughout the whole day.
Yeah.
Try to get some protein in every meal if possible.
Probably breakfast in particular.
Yeah.
And I think if we look at how most New Zealanders eat, for the most part, we're probably fine with protein at dinner time.
Yeah.
Lunch is going to be a hit or miss depending on what you normally have. But let's just say it's some kind of sandwich, like probably have some kind of protein in there, ham or chicken.
Yeah.
But breakfast,
the hams tends to be not very much either, though.
Not a lot. No, that's right. Yeah. But there'll be something. Breakfast, though, almost non-existent unless you're having eggs. And if you're busy, you don't have time to make eggs. No. And so, again, if you're even having breakfast a lot of the time, it's probably not containing protein. And so, again, like if you've got that, if you allow for the time to get up a little bit earlier, then you might be able to include a bit more protein there, or just make sure, again, using supplementation, because that's what it's there for, there to supplement the diet. If you don't have the time in the morning to prepare, you could use a protein supplement so that you ensure that you still get some protein in. But I would definitely start with at least 3 main meals a day. Where can you get your protein? And if you looked at nothing else, if you just increase your protein and tried to get a little bit more protein with every meal, like we talked about earlier, going for a little bit of a walk here or there, even if it's to your bloody driveway, you're down your flight of stairs at work, you're on the path. And it's at least a start.
Yeah.
It's probably going to have a downstream effect in terms of then changing almost everything else you do for the rest of the day, because you might have more stable energy levels. You are less overall hungry. And so you're likely just to kind of keep going along with additional health implementations, just purely because you've done those non-negotiables and those kind of golden nuggets, which often actually underpin whether or not you're going to have the day a success or not.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Like for all those people out there, like me and Mikey's main goal, we want you guys to thrive, to live a better life, a bit of a healthier life, and just constantly work on, on yourself. This is self-improvement, and like we just hope these sort of little golden nuggets, hopefully one of them got through to you, and maybe you'll implement that there, and that's all that really matters. Like if you just take one little part, implement that bit, and build from there, I'm sure you'll succeed.
Yeah, and I think this whole kind of this podcast in particular, but I think the mind and the body integrate. And it's like they're not independent of each other.
Yeah.
You need the body to be able to perform, but a lot of the time that's underpinned by what's going on in the mind and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so if we can get both functioning better, we're on the path to something better anyway.
Yeah. And like we said before, health is wealth, guys.
100%.
Do as much as you can to look after it. You only get one shot.
So
awesome. Cheers, guys.
thank you.